Uh, 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 okay, sorry, just double click there. Okay.
In at number 94, it's the film that is definitely historically accurate and definitely not racist.
It's Lawrence of Arabia. Yay. Uh,
Yes, the film that makes Avatar's white saviordom look very, very subtle by comparison.
yeah, although the thing that I was fearing watching this movie is just the massive length of it, you know. It's the longest movie ever to win the Best Picture Academy Award, apparently.
Well,
So I
you know
guess
what else?
yeah, that caused trouble for me because we've delayed this recording because I had the option to see it at the theater, right? I was like, oh hell yeah, I want to see that film in the cinema. It was so long, I literally couldn't schedule a viewing of the whole film, so I left during the intermission. So I've seen half of this film in a theater, and then the rest on my TV.
Yeah, I wanted to see it many years ago. It kept showing in 70 millimeters, and I just could not work out. I couldn't carve out the time for the one screening a day that was showing. So yeah, I watched it at home.
Yeah,
Um,
I got the Blu-ray. I thought I should at least watch in like, like decent quality. So I did that. I remember
I
my
watched it
dad
on Amazon. I didn't watch like a dodgy rip, so I did get pretty decent quality when I finished it at home.
I
I
did
watched a
remember
dodgy rip.
my dad getting the DVD release, which was, in a nice like special case, exclusive release sort of thing. So I mentioned to him we were doing this. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's the movie I put on when I want to take a nap." So
Yeah,
I guess that's
this
one
is
review.
the this is finally Mark has become bored.
Oh yeah. I
Finally, you found a movie that is too slow.
Okay, I was less bored than I thought. So I mean, I watched in maybe three or four chunks, which for me is pretty good actually, especially when it's pushing 4 hours. So
Well, okay, here's how it was for me. We keep doing these films, right? Which growing up, I didn't watch this kind of thing because it seemed boring. But then I watched them and I'm surprised they're good. And I shouldn't be surprised because we're doing the supposed top 100 films of all time and they're like best picture winning masterpieces. But yeah, I was like, okay, I'll put on this boring ass film that Matt wants me to watch for this podcast and I'll play Mario Kart while I watch it or whatever. But I was gripped. I actually really liked this film and was watching it the whole time without messing around on my phone or whatever.
I guess we should do the introductions. This is Matt here.
This is Luke.
This is Mark.
It's Films and Filth. We're on the good side of the list today, the supposedly good side, with Lawrence of Arabia again. I actually did start to read the book a little bit, but the book is like that post-Victorian prose, which I can't handle. Well, more like Victorian prose a few years late. And the book is like more racist and smarmy.
So it's literally the book written by the white guy from World
Yes,
War One who went and
correct.
Mhm.
So, but I mean, it was funny though as he's setting stuff up. Like he has knowledge of the the different social connections and stuff. But yeah, he still just got this weird imperialist streak. But it
hmm.
reads the first part of the book does read a little bit like Dune talking about the Fremen. So
Um,
yeah.
oh my God, dude! I was like, this is Dune, and guess when Dune came out? 3 years after this movie. So basically, this influenced Dune, and Dune influenced Star Wars.
And
Probably
this
there's a link
influenced
there.
Star Wars. I mean,
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's
There's a
just
big the very start of this film, the music starts playing, and I was like, oh, it's the desert music from everything ever.
yeah.
That's
so
just the theme tune for deserts.
That was Jean Pierre Juret's dad, I think, did the
that's
music for
correct,
this. Yeah,
Maurice.
yeah, and apparently he did the music in 6 weeks. The actual making of this film took longer than the events that it depicted.
Like MASH.
I suppose so. But it's like there's a shot in here where Peter O'Toole goes down a staircase and he's a year older when he gets to the bottom of the staircase.
It's a long staircase.
Yeah. There I am not crazy about this film, but there are things in it that I'm crazy about. Like I
Yeah, I
absolutely
mean,
love the sequence of the well sequence at the beginning where Omar Sharif just comes out of a mirage and shoots that guy was
yeah.
incredible. That was like gripping. But it's a biopic and followers of mine on these podcasts may know that I don't like biopics. And when I find things out, like when he went to rescue the guy, that really happened, but he got roasted and made fun of for doing it because everyone thought it was stupid. And that would have been a much more interesting scene in this
him at the
movie.
start, but then when he got back, it was like
in real life they roasted him when he got back.
Yeah, as they should.
Yeah, exactly. That would have made a better film. And I always find that out, and I'm like, this would have been a much better film if they just let these guys be be real. I don't know, but that's not what biopics are.
Well, in case people don't want to spend the 4 hours or just under 4 hours, Luke, can you catch folks up on the flow of this rhyme?
Mr. T.E. Lawrence is seconded from the Cairo office of the British Army to work in the Arabian liaison, where he meets up with Prince Faisal and helps him organize the Arab revolt to remove the Turks from Arabia. First, he leads an unexpected desert attack to the city of Akarat, which is designed only to defend from the sea. This helps him build his reputation, and with the backing of both the British Army and the Arabian rebels, he is able to remove the Turks from Arabia and prevent the British and French from taking it over. However, in doing so, he discovers his own bloodlust and wonders what kind of a man he might be.
Yeah, okay. Matt, you were wrong. He absolutely can do Peter O'Toole.
Yeah, you guys can't do it because you're not Brits.
I wasn't even gonna try. I could do. I'm half Lebanese, so I could do Arab guys. You'll see, but I can't. No, that's the whole thing. I can't.
Citation needed.
I mean, I can show you a picture of my dad.
Oh, I don't doubt that you're half Lebanese. I doubt that you can do an Arab accent and it's okay.
You're right. I mean, I can't even do it with it not being okay. Actually, I never learned to speak Lebanese at all, or Arabic. But I'm allowed to, though.
I'm not so sure about that. Okay.
I'm allowed to. Okay.
Okay,
it's
sure.
Not
you're
racist
to.
if I do it. It's not racist if somebody of the, but I'm not going to do it because unlike this film, I respect. God damn it. It's pointless, Stephen.
Anyway, Peter O'Toole is like, I guess he just blasted through that Aaron Eckhart ceiling. Because he's definitely too pretty to be a leading man, but he is anyway.
Yeah, but he was operating in the 60s when that wasn't so much of a thing.
Yeah, I guess so. But I still feel like that rule kind of applies in the past, I mean, the big, you got like Humphrey Bogart's an ugly dude, right? Cary Grant's a little goofy looking.
There was a quote from someone that said he was so pretty that he was like Florence of Arabia.
Yeah, I saw that quote.
Well, so. And he does flounce around quite camply.
Yeah, wearing all white, so he's the white guy.
Yeah.
I just finished my All the Gin Joint book talking about Hollywood benders, and Peter O'Toole is apparently high on the list of Hollywood benders.
Hollywood benders? Does that mean drunk?
Yeah, alcoholic insanity.
Oh
yeah, dude. He annoyed Alec Guinness.
You don't know what that means in British.
What is that?
Bender means gay person. I thought you were being really homophobic.
That's sort of what I thought you meant, actually.
Oh, no.
He's a big Hollywood bender.
No.
I was like, he was on the list, high on the list of Hollywood benders. Just sounds like you're, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, when you go on a bender, that's when you're drunk. But anyway.
Okay. He was high on the list of Hollywood people going on massive benders.
There were rumors about Lawrence being queer, and I think that was maybe hinted at in the wrong way. It may have been hinted in the wrong way here.
Man, not the actor.
But they were doing the best they could, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
They were going to have a
different time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I
like
can't
how they
hold
do
this
Spartacus, right? Spartacus kind of rolls that as well a little bit with the that scene got cut for several decades, actually, the oysters and clam scene.
But we're still playing video games where the bad guy is like the gay impulses you're supposed to be afraid of. That hasn't even gone away, really.
So wait a minute, how does Futurama go in the UK then with Bender the robot?
Oh, we all chuckle about it.
Okay.
Same with Avatar, and they're all talking about, oh, what a great bender you are.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I didn't. You learned something new.
Firebenders.
I think my aunt had a crush on Omar Sharif because of this film, or maybe it was a later film in the '60s. But yeah, she seemed to think he was one of Hollywood's dudes. So
I'm pretty sure my dad met him before. There's a picture of my parents with King Hussein of Jordan, who let them use a bunch of horses for this.
although I do keep
That's like a recurring thing because Transformers 2 has a bunch of scenes in like really cool ruins and a bunch of helicopters provided by the Prince of Jordan because he likes films.
but
I
then
mean, yeah, he's buds with the West in some kind of ways. I don't fully understand the politics, so I'm not going to weigh in. But
this one's weird that they did get help from Jordan and stuff in that regard, but then when the film was completely produced, they banned it. They didn't like the historical inaccuracies.
well, but apparently, the King of Egypt screened this and loved it, so he allowed it to be released in Egypt because that's what it would take for a release in the most parts of the Middle East, and then it became a huge hit in Egypt.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I keep throwing out Hollywood too. We should note that this is a great part of a British production, so you can claim
Brawleywood.
Brawleywood. Okay, sure, why not?
No, if Britain just started making films now, it would be called Brawleywood. But no, it's a yeah. What's David Lean has something like 7 films on the top 10 British films of all time, or something like that.
Something like that.
Right.
I guess the thing with David Lean is, very gorgeous imagery, but his films can overstay their welcome, I guess, as this one kind of does.
The main issue I had, and maybe I watched an unremastered version, but sometimes the dialogue was so hard to make out, and I had to jack up the volume really high and then turn it down really low when anything else happened. Did anybody else kind of have that experience? I feel like I've complained about not understanding dialogue a lot on this podcast, and maybe I just need to
turn on the subtitles.
Get hearing aids. I may be telling on myself here.
Yeah, no, I watched sitting in this chair looking at the TV next to this monitor or this computer, wearing headphones, and I often do turn on the subtitles, so I don't have that problem. Yeah.
I did not have subtitles.
Okay. Well,
I had Japanese subtitles because I didn't have a choice.
Oh.
Right.
Both on Amazon and at the cinema.
Yeah.
Because I know Bridge on the River Kwai is the other one, I guess, Lean I've seen the most. And I mean, that one also very good, but just I think a little draggy. I don't know. There's something about his pacing that I guess it's just old style pacing. It's like trying to watch Lawrence Welk shows or something.
I just feel like maybe there were moments that went on too long without tension, and that made it feel longer than it even was. I probably could have watched 4 hours of just guys riding around on horses and been pretty entertained. It just started to drag when people started talking politics and they all seemed kind of annoyed with each other.
Yeah. I was about to say the desert shots obviously are not making it drag. So,
yeah.
The one more actor, I guess, is Alec Guinness casting here problematic or?
Yes.
Yeah. Apparently the makeup was so good that people in that area thought he was the real guy, but still it seems pretty obvious that it's brown face.
Yeah, it looks like, there's no one in that entire race who could possibly act.
We've already cast Omar Sharif in the Ollie role, so I guess it's Alec Guinness.
It's also, I think this is the first time I've seen Alec Guinness as anything that's not a Star Wars.
Yeah, it might be mine too.
Which he would hate.
Yeah, of course.
He's in River Kwai, so I've seen that, although not anytime recently. I think I had the Letterboxd VHS of that. That's the last time I watched it. So, But yeah, I mean, he's not on a screen. It is kind of weird because he is a pretty. I mean, at this point, he's already a notable star, but he's very supporting in this movie.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him in anything that's not a Star Wars. I'm looking at the list of stuff.
Shoot a few names. Shoot a few names that sound a little.
Dr. Zhivago.
Oh no, that's another long lean. Yeah, one of
Yeah,
those is
long
enough.
lean. Yeah, I haven't seen Bridge on the River Kwai. I haven't seen the original Lady Killers. I haven't seen.
I may have seen
The
Bridge when I was
Prisoner.
a kid, but
The Prisoner, 1955. We didn't do that.
I think I've seen the Lavender Hill Mob, but I don't remember anything about it.
Oliver Twist from 1948. I may have seen that.
I mean, you tend to confuse him a little bit with Peter Sellers sometimes at this point in time, anyway. I feel like
Hitler, the last 10 days. He played Adolf Hitler.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's like playing Napoleon these days, right?
Wow, the poster for it's pretty sick. It's just like a huge fire with a swastika in the middle of it with a bunch of Nazis all around it.
Of course, now we have Downfall though. I wonder if that's kind of superseded it.
I don't think this is as good as Downfall.
Yeah, at least it doesn't have a prime meme scene.
Well, it might. Who knows? I'm not gonna watch it.
Shall we talk about the lead actress of this movie?
Oh yeah, this is the longest movie ever made with no spoken female dialogue. This movie fails.
Are there any
the
women in
test.
it who aren't dead?
There's sometimes women who are on the mountaintop who are just going like la 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 la. I can do that because I'm half Lebanese.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess that maybe that was one of the stipulations of getting Jordan's assistance. I don't know, but I mean there is the Arab. I mean, Saudi Arabia, notoriously today tends to have gender classes, right? So.
Well, yeah. Like the WWE goes over there and does shows and has no women's matches and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't a big deal that women can like drive now, or can they? I don't remember if that happened or not.
I don't want to actually you, but I do have a friend who's in the WWE who has been over there to do matches, who's a woman. But
yeah, I think that's
very recent.
Yeah, the first time they did a big show over there, it was like right at the height of like they're really taking the women seriously, and then they didn't have any matches. I think they just can't wear the skimpy outfits.
Yeah, I didn't watch it because I'm kind of hate the entire culture over there. Just don't want to even think about it at all. But oh boy.
I did have a little trouble kind of like I dig history. I like reading history books, but yeah, something about this sequence of events, the real ones and the mildly changed ones seemed, I don't know, weirdly confusing to me for some reason. I mean, I think I finally kind of worked it out, but yeah. That's why I started reading the book, but that didn't help.
maybe that's why I thought of Dune, because it feels like there's a bunch of lore that I didn't understand, all with names with a lot of vowels. Not very many vowels.
That might be part of it, yeah. So, because I'm thinking, I mean, I guess it's just like in the West we have so much like countries did this with other countries and blah blah, where that just doesn't hold water in most of the world before like the last century, right? So this is like very much not country, right? This is like groups of people, which maybe makes it more confusing.
But yeah, even looking at like Europe, a lot of the countries, the actual country as we know it today is not that old.
Yeah, for sure.
Germany's only a couple hundred years old. France was like various different states throughout its history.
Yeah, maybe it's like the Holy Roman Empire period. I can follow more because they have more vowels or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, speaking as an American, a lot of people look at Africa like it's just one country, which is insane.
Oh, you get that in Japan a lot too.
There are a lot of African countries that I'd never heard of until I started listening to like podcasts about music history.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff comes from specific.
I did
countries.
note that a lot of the exteriors of especially Cairo or Sevilla, Spain, which I have been to, so I should have read the trivia before I watched the movies. Try and recognize more. But there's, they're saying they're in Cairo, so I'm not really looking for Sevilla, right?
Did they show the pyramids at any point, despite having multiple scenes in Cairo?
I don't
Don't
believe
think
so.
so.
Which that's
Yeah,
actually
they would never do that in a film now. Of course, you'd have an establishing shot of the pyramids.
you throw a transformer at one of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Transformer slides down one of the sides of the pyramids.
Yeah, you need that today. But yeah, I don't know. That seems kind of classy. I mean, we don't need to see the pyramid, so why bother?
Wait, Michael Bay, if you're listening, I want a pyramid to transform into a robot. Make the whole thing.
Well, it should
Do
be
it.
all three pyramids, and then they combine like one of those massive transformers.
Yes. Make
Should the
it so.
smallest one be the head, though, or should the Great Pyramid be the head?
The smallest pyramid, the top of it rotates outwards, and the head of it is like a sick mummy head with glowing eyes.
Okay, that's cool. But made out of metal.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe.
Or rock.
Maybe
should
not.
Should be a rock transformer since it's
I think Transformers, the movie Transformers are a little bit like they could be a little fleshy sometimes.
Okay. But you don't only get too fleshy because then it's just a kaiju.
But I mean, isn't that the next logical step?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we
We're
just need
gonna-
to decide
look-
if we want the pyramids to turn to kaiju or transformers.
We're gonna have Optimus Prime versus Godzilla in our lifetime. I believe this.
But then they're just going to team up and not really fight in the end.
Well, that happens in that happens in like the 3 out of the last 5 Godzilla movies anyway.
I know. That's the point. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess he's hanging in Cairo. He goes, I guess where he ends up first is kind of confusing. I looked at the maps, right? So it's basically Syria is the end of the movie. And then it's the strip on the western edge of Saudi Arabia that is the action for like the first half of the movie. Just down the Red Sea. So once I started looking at maps, it helped a little more. I guess that's the thing when it's not talking about countries and talking about different tribal groups and stuff, and you don't have a map in your head, that makes it especially confusing. So maybe looking at a few maps is a good call.
Is this before the trope of where the movie would show someone walk across the desert and show like an overlay of a map with a line going across it?
I feel like they did that in the 30s. That's why they did
between that.
Jones.
Okay.
This is when it had gone out of fashion from the 30s, but hadn't been brought back into fashion by Indiana Jones.
Makes sense. Okay.
This would have been a great place to put it. So I was really missing that. I had the same thought watching. I'm like, where's my, my map?
Well, they cut so quickly from his funeral to him being alive without anything. There are a few times they just really rely on you paying attention because they're not going to just hand it to you.
The film starts with him riding his little motorbike along without a helmet. And if I'd been taking notes, my note would have been like, oh, he's riding without a helmet. I bet he dies. He immediately dies.
Well,
yeah, that's this and Citizen Kane, both films where the titular character dies at the beginning.
Yeah, I was definitely comparing to Citizen Kane in my head. The interesting thing being that Citizen Kane obviously is like a biting critique of its main character, whereas this one tries to do that a little bit, but mostly just mythologizes him.
And that's why this made me like Citizen Kane more, because Citizen Kane is like an anti-biopic. And that was just there to roast somebody. And, it destroyed the film, basically. I mean, it destroyed Orson Welles to do that. But I enjoyed it more because it was like, look at this jerk. It wasn't like a bunch of people going, Lawrence. What are we going to do, Lawrence? What are we going to do?
Well, this movie even telegraphs it when Faisal asked the American journalist, like, what is your real reason? He's like, I want to mythologize this guy so I can drag the Americans into the war, So it could be kind of like the movie is like the journalist's work, or
if they'd lean into that
work because he wrote the book.
If they'd leaned into that heavier, like maybe they framed it like it was him telling the story the whole time, it probably would have been better, I think. But
I was surprised they didn't wrap around to 1935 at the end again. I mean, I guess that's a biopic trope, right? That you have your wraparound, which they never did.
Sorry, I thought it was actually cool that at the very end, when he's riding that car, a motorcycle just passes him, and it's like you're reminded, it's the ghost of your future death.
But he doesn't know about it. It's not like on Star Trek where it's drama, right? It's just a.
But maybe it was. He sees that and he's like, oh, motorbikes are cool. I'm going to get into riding those.
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna praise Satan and ride a motorcycle. Yeah.
Well, it's the biopic scene of the profound thing from the past that wouldn't have meant anything at the time, you know?
Hmm.
How
Like,
much time passes between the end of the movie and the beginning?
what
Like
do you mean?
I mean, how
like
much time passes from
20,
the end of the movie?
close to 20 years.
He died
Okay.
in 35. The action of the movie is
Okay.
1917. So
Okay.
18 years.
I don't feel like they ever really. I would have, if I'd read anything, I would have understood that. But
I didn't read anything, but it shows
okay.
his dates on his grave.
I started reading Seven Pillars of Wisdom, but I don't enjoy T. Lawrence's writing that much.
Do you guys think this would have done worse if the film was called Seven Pillars of Wisdom?
Yes.
I definitely think so.
That was,
It
I
sounds
mean,
like a motivational film.
there were bits in the past where that was attached to the project. So, but yeah, Lawrence of Arabia obviously looks better on a marquee. No question.
It's when the way that echoes through the film because he's not from Arabia, but he's becomes Lawrence of Arabia.
But also, like,
Of
originally,
Of
Faisal
Did I not
Keys
say
was in that, like, ironically.
yeah, I yeah.
You were, but yeah, I was like, when it got to the end, I was like, what, huh? It ended. So
I was a little bit
I
like
was
that.
watching the bar go down, dude. It took me a while. It took me a while to watch this. I'm basically am moving towards just either not taking notes at all or forcing myself to never pause the film because it took me like 7 hours to watch this movie.
It is funny how you two are like a decade older than me, but you're the ones with the messed up Gen Z attention spans. But apparently, I'm capable of watching films.
Well, there was a lot of lead in the water when our parents grew up or something. I'm pretty sure my mom drank a lot of coffee when she was pregnant with me.
There we go.
Oh,
That's the
I
way
mean, my
to
mum
look
was
at
at university. I dread to think what she was putting into her body while she was pregnant with me.
Yeah, I'd know if I was pregnant, I would definitely keep drinking coffee until somebody was like, "Don't drink coffee anymore." You know what I mean? And this is the 70s.
I say 35 cups a day will kill you. Is that the legend?
Yeah, I think if you do one scoop of that powder, that's like you're supposed to do like a pinch of it. There was a guy who died from drinking too much caffeine. Did a big old honking scoop of this powder that was all this caffeine at once. It was like 800 cups of coffee or something. That'll kill you.
You'd think it would make you really awake, huh?
I've definitely had like 12
Hmm.
on my weaker days.
When I used to work in a restaurant, I was necking like 2 or 3 big cans of energy drink a day. But I was also working open to close, like for 11 days straight.
The Clopin. Wait, no,
Well,
that's when you close.
I would
at the
literally
end
take
of the
every
movie,
single hour they would give me because I was saving up to move to Japan.
Well, paid off.
I am noting as my notes went on, I just started writing his name as A Law. So I think that's a good one to throw on him.
Was I imagining that a bunch of people started calling him Orance?
You're correct.
Okay.
Because I guess it's kind of like how in Japan I'll respond to Mato, you know?
Oh.
Yeah, my name is Ruku.
Oh, neat.
So yeah, I mean, I think that when you do hang out and start living in our country or whatever, you'll usually go along with the shift in the pronunciation. Because if you're just like, no, it's Matt, you sound like a bastard.
I don't even correct people when they mispronounce my last name. I'm like, you're right. People are like Malik. I'm like, you're right. Run with it. Who cares? Words are made up.
Malk.
Yeah, that sounds great. Malk.
That's what you get the discount supermarket in The Simpsons, right? Malk.
Yeah, rat milk. Right?
Yeah. Hey, it could be delicious. You don't know until you try it.
That would describe
I don't get mispronunciations of my surname. I just get the wrong name. I like Summerfield, right? No.
Well,
I have a friend named Alexandra, and she used to post on Facebook constantly about how mad it would make her if someone said Alexandria.
You should get over that. Yeah, I'm
I think
entertained
she's
when
over
people
now.
try and say my last name. So,
Come jizz.
I mean, I think you probably knew this, Matt. Sometimes people would just call you Matt Cum Guys.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I know that. Yes, I get
It was pretty funny.
Combeggies. I mean, it's all over the place. So yeah, there's all sorts of bizarre
I think
pronunciations.
Cum Guys was probably intentional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey guys, what do you want to do now? Okay.
Cum Guys. Woo! So
Oh man,
where are
they
we?
totally derailed a train. That was impressive because I just watched.
That really happened, but somebody else did it.
Okay, what you want to say what that was? Because I just watched the General, the Buster Keaton movie, where they have a train fall on a bridge, and that's pretty
Mhm.
impressive. But this one was, I just seen that. And this one has now the proper, Panavision or whatever they're filming this in, cameras and stuff, VistaVision, whatever it is, and now it's epic because in the General it's Academy ratio, so it's basically like watching a train fall on TV. Still cool, but yeah, this one was like, yeah, train, and the cars
Uh,
jump up. Yeah, that was great. What do you mean it was for
It
something else?
did look great. No, someone else in the real story, someone else derailed the train. A
Oh,
different
okay,
different
okay.
guy,
I thought you were
a
saying
different
David Lean did
general.
not derail the train.
No, he did it. I mean, he did
Okay.
that train. But the thing is, I think they found the rails from the actual train that got derailed when they were working on this, and they still hadn't rusted.
Okay, well,
Well,
it's
yeah.
desert. You can keep books
Yeah,
in the
as I
desert.
understand it, like the broad beats in terms of Lawrence's life are accurate, but he wasn't like the central figure in the Arab Revolt. He just got involved and was a general in some stuff.
To
I
be
like that
fair,
they're
the book starts and he's telling you that I'm kind of just going by memory without checking the facts and stuff. So this is, how I see it. And obviously some of it's not going to be 100% accurate,
I mean, you say to be fair, he should have just not done that.
there was someone wrote about him and said that he wasn't necessarily as much of an attention hog as he is in this film, but he had a quote genius for backing into the limelight, which I think that would have made a much more interesting film if he was sort of like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you should listen to me.
Like Forrest Gumping it or something.
I don't
Like
think that's Forrest Gump.
there are a few scenes where they kind of try and do that, but yeah. They also make it he's very showboaty.
Yeah, it's it just there was just so much of it, and there were scenes where someone would take him aside and try to tell him, "Hey, you're really great. You should realize how great you are." And he's like, "I know I'm great." This just a little much of that. But again, biopic stuff. I don't really. This film would have been just as much like that if it was made 30 years later. So it's just a problem I have with biopics. Period.
Well,
that
30
they have
years.
to
30 years
do that.
later, you could have cast Ben Stiller and made it Derek of Arabia. Have him kind of do a Zoolander thing.
You could still do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's too old for it now. But one of my favorite things is when he first gets his robes and he's out like preening by himself and the
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
that was actually a pretty fantastic scene. Yeah, maybe like more of that in this movie would have like kind of not smoothed it out, but just added what you want at least.
I definitely don't think anyone wanted more.
Well, I mean, you'd replace some of the long conversations that go nowhere with more preening and stuff.
Well, there's got to be if there isn't a parody of this, there's got to be something like a parody.
Oh, there's tons of parodies. I would argue the Spaceballs, we haven't found shit as a bit of a parody, right?
You're right. I think it plays the music even.
Well, again, it's the desert music now, isn't it?
Music. Yeah.
But yeah, there are things where it's old school filmmaking when you do have just an insane amount of extras. You're like, oh man, maybe you could do more with processing film to do those effects. But I'm like, there seem to be an awful lot of extras in some of these scenes.
This feels like a parallel to late 90s excess because this is 2 years before Cleopatra, right? And I looked into Cleopatra a little bit because we're not going to be watching it for this unless one of you picks up your birthday. It didn't do as badly as I thought it did. For some reason, I thought Cleopatra was a huge flop, but it was just a hugely expensive movie.
Right,
did
and it
well.
was, scandal ridden because that's where you get Elizabeth Taylor and
Yeah.
Richard Burton like starting
Yeah.
to scream at each other for the next 12 years.
God, I love them so much, dude. I love this. I love them so much.
I mean, you basically go watch Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and get your fill.
That actually might be one of my birthday picks.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
No, yeah, I wouldn't besmirch you for that. So,
That is a very Mark movie.
right. Let's see what else. Why did I write the line two dudes, one cup? Okay. Somewhere
there is at
somewhere.
some point two people drank from the same cup.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
think.
probably why. Okay.
Was it when he asked for lemonade?
It might be. No, that's much later in the movie. Yeah.
He shows up and asks for lemonade, and they're like, "You've changed, Lawrence.
That's much later.
Why aren't you drinking whiskey?"
He could mix the whiskey with lemonade. I mean, that's legit, I think.
I don't know. I guess that's shorthand for he's an Arab now, so we like lemonade.
Yeah, I guess so.
I like Dr. Pepper.
He likes Dr. Pepper. It sounds like
like
you're doing a commercial.
Alkaline water.
I don't have a drink here. I have no drink. Is that weird to podcast without a drink nearby?
Maybe.
Matt, it's weird to podcast with a handheld singing microphone, so don't worry.
Look, I've got this bottle of Christmas glow wine that I haven't drank from Christmas.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
Is it still good?
Yeah, it's probably. Don't have a date on it, so that means it's good forever.
I'm pretty sure these Dr. Peppers are like a month out of date, so it's a good.
Yeah, I'm really curious to what happens when you ice some glow wine.
Well, you have an easy way to find out.
Too lazy.
Well, you can't do it in Arabia for multiple reasons.
I can't do it right now unless I get up and go outside and get ice out of the freezer.
Radio. I don't know. We're kind of, let's see. Is there anything major I want to throw out here? I think I did kind of hit most of my notes. This kind of is like just getting back to the music. I mean, it's definitely the John Williams template. So,
yeah, I love every bit of big sweeping music and bunch of camels. The camels are awesome. The horses are cool. The flag, all those guys running around with flags are cool. Big giant handguns, like him just shooting people with a hand. But that also kind of sucked at the same time because we're supposed to believe this is a huge war, but we can watch Lawrence just shoot people with a big handgun and nobody seems to care.
Yeah, don't make friends with Lawrence. He's going to shoot you.
But it's like there's the time within a huge land battle for a guy to just go crazy and just start shooting people, and for his friend to be like, "What are you doing? Stop shooting people." And nothing happens to, that's that kind of biopic stuff.
I guess the thing is we get the bloodlust without the actual violence in this movie, So it's more, again, it's like it's still a great adventure, even though he shoots two of his friends in the face.
Like, for all its flaws, Braveheart, at least he sort of, that has sort of a realistic means to an end.
Yeah, and also has some historical accuracy troubles, but I guess it's
I'm
more
not even
obvious
sure.
as we know Western history a little better, Whereas this, I mean, what?
Yeah, but also it's much further back in history. This was like retelling events that had happened in most of the audience's lifetime.
Yeah, there were extras who knew some of the people that were depicted in the film.
And then what is this? They do allude to it because the British cut off the supplies, so the Arabs cannot keep the city in the end anyway, right? But or Damascus. But you have the Balfour Declaration a few years later, which basically is what starts to really give the Palestinians a raw deal. So that's coming up in 3 years. So it's like, how much good is he actually doing here, if any?
Looking at it from a modern perspective, it feels like there's a lot of dread attached because, I can't speak for specifically the British, but I know that Americans didn't make things a whole lot better, interfering in a ton of Middle Eastern politics.
I mean, I guess
Mhm.
maybe that's why this movie just kind of just ends. It's like, well, an event. If we keep going with this,
Oh.
it's not. It's gonna. It already went somewhere bad. You have the victory, but then it's like kind of a bittersweet victory because they kind of lose it in the end, right? And
Well,
that's
1962, that was pre-Vietnam, right? Was it pre-Korea? No, it wasn't pre-Korea, but
Vietnam was
we were,
already going on, but it hadn't. It
yeah,
wasn't like it wasn't Fortunate Son yet.
yeah. We felt good about
We
it.
hadn't got we. Well, I think we were still. I think the French were still primarily doing it at that time.
Viet fun.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we
Anyway,
didn't have the scarred mass thing of that yet. So but
mhm.
it was already going on. So,
Yeah. I just think the Western perspective of war was at that time kind of like, isn't it cool the things we did? We won all these things. We've succeeded so hard.
I mean, was it Golf of Tonkin or whatever? It's pretty ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
with Jim Morrison's dad getting us into Vietnam.
What? Jim
Admiral
Morrison's
Morrison.
dad?
Yes, he was the admiral of a fleet near Vietnam where they basically staged an attack on themselves. And this is pretty. This is verified. I mean, this is history now.
Mhm.
But yeah, just to get America more involved because the French couldn't handle it anymore. So they were like, "Oh, look, they just shot at us," and they not really. And yeah, maybe that's why Jim Morrison was so angry.
That's how a lot of wars start.
Jim Morrison's dad.
Yeah, specifically him. No, just the whole fake and attack thing.
Yeah.
Japan did it to invade China. Germany did it to invade
Mhm.
Poland.
So that's where it is weird because this is that kind of situation, but we're gonna make it into this sweeping adventure epic.
Mm.
So there's definitely a weird dissonance. I whether it's historically accurate or not. It's yeah, because Indiana Jones, I mean, he has adventures with Nazis involved and stuff, but it's not like geopolitics at work.
Well,
Yeah, and also Nazis, right? It's literally always good to kill a Nazi.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing I was talking about with a friend of mine over a PM. I was like, actually, Nazis were a great shorthand for enemy that you can hate for a long
Hmm.
time. It was like Nazis were basically fed by fiction and they fed into fiction.
Hmm.
And then now they fed into more Nazis. So I don't know how to feel anymore. It's like, can you make Star Wars without Nazis?
Not really. Did I tell what's up? Back when I was in the police, one of the guys I was out on patrol with, he would like told me like, oh yeah. I'm really into Star Wars. I'm in the Stormtrooper Legion. I go to all the conventions. And that was like my first hint that maybe I don't belong in the police because I was just like, you're a literal police officer and you're telling me you dress up as a stormtrooper. Stop around being a space Nazi at
You
conventions.
should have gone on patrol with them
Uh,
for Halloween. That'd be fun.
well, this movie refreshingly does not feel like it has Nazis in it.
I
Well,
mean,
it's way
it's
too
set
early.
either side of that war.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not. No, yeah, he dies even before the Second World War starts.
Mhm.
So yeah, he doesn't know much about Nazis. So
Well, that's the thing because they try and make it out. Maybe that's one of the struggles of this film is they try and give you like the Turks are bad guys, but in World War One, they were all as bad as each other, right? It was just all the European imperialist powers clashing, and everyone else was just caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, I
And
didn't
it
entirely.
does do a little bit to acknowledge like, hey, maybe Britain's not actually that much better.
I would say it is pretty refreshingly objective about Britain's place. They're sort of lying about something. I didn't entirely understand what they were giving anybody about because
They
some
would
political stuff
never.
just
The point of the film was they would never say to the Arabs like, oh yeah, but we're going to come in and take over. But
yeah.
they also wouldn't quite say they're not going to do that because they were
Yeah.
going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, didn't a ton of colonialism happen under Elizabeth specifically? Again, I'm not great with history, but
Oh yeah. We were still trying it on.
and this is, I
can't.
mean, this is a kind of like confusing corner of history for sure. Um,
Yeah, and also I can't like I can't say, oh, America didn't do that shit, because we absolutely did.
Yeah, why
Yeah,
is
we
it
done it
so?
worse. We done it way worse.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We installed people who, yeah. Anyway,
Um, I guess we'll talk about if this is a film or if it's a filth. Obviously, it's a film, but Luke, can you say film in your foul tool O'Toole accent?
This is a film.
You have to say it that way. Yeah, so you can't just say it's a film.
This is a motion picture presentation of the
Right.
life of T. Lawrence and his escapades in the Middle East.
So you have to say it like that, So it's definitely a film, but you're not necessarily going to have fun with it. Although I did have more fun watching it than I thought I was going to. So
Just because of the length, I just assumed it would be boring as shit, but I actually quite enjoyed watching it.
I'll get back to you how Once Upon a Time in America works out.
it was fine.
Oh, you've done it already. Okay.
No. I mean, this was fine.
Oh,
I
this was
haven't
fine.
done. I have not. I'm not signed up for the next longie yet.
Okay.
But biopics. Mark doesn't like biopics.
Right.
So for a biopic, it's pretty good.
I don't
Okay.
super like biopics, but yeah, this one was. I guess because it wasn't just about like a dude who made songs. At least he was riding around on a camel and shooting dudes.
Yeah, you watch a
So-
guy kind of just break down over time, which is pretty. This is always fun to watch someone go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy T. Lawrence, I mean, he's not really like someone that's in the pop culture zeitgeist. Like you say, he's not a singer, so it's.
I mean, I didn't
Like,
know
I
this
didn't-
was a biopic until I watched it this week.
Yeah,
I didn't know,
yeah,
I
same.
didn't know that at all. I never heard of the guy. So
I'd had heard of the guy, but I didn't put together they were the same Lawrence. So when it showed his grave with his full name, I was like, "Oh, that dude! Wait, is that what this film's about?" Okay,
I assumed it was a guy whose first name was Lawrence.
See, I
Same.
guess
Yeah.
I'm splitting straws, and I went through the movie thinking of it as a historical epic, which was slightly different than a biopic. I don't know if you thought of it as a historical epic. Does that make you like it better?
Historical epic?
it can't be a historical epic because it
It's
doesn't
not.
feature enough characters.
Yeah, it's not epic. It's so intimate in a way. Like you see basically the same 5 or 6 British military guys, and you spend a lot of time with the same handful of rogues.
Yeah,
fighting
the desert's
Egypt.
pretty epic.
Which I think that's actually kind of a good idea for this.
Yeah, Matt's using epic in the 2000s leet speak version of the word, not what it actually means when you say historical epic.
Dude, that was epic.
It's not quite Ben-Hur, is it? Never watched that.
I've watched Ben-Hur.
I've seen some of it, but not really.
Ben-Hur? I hardly know her.
I have a 1-star review. I guess I could read. Does anyone else have a one?
I was gonna
Mark's?
say, yeah, I was gonna say that I saw a bunch that were obviously British, so I was gonna suggest Luke read one of them, but I don't know if you found one that is not obviously British.
I don't think this one's obviously British.
There's several, but go ahead.
Oh, you send me the link while Matt's reading his one, Mark. I can do it if you want.
Okay.
Dennis 888, most overrated piece of terrible cinematography. Why on earth is it considered one of the best? Could anyone explain this mystery to me? This film is just awful, outdated, slow, cliched, skewed, biased, unrealistic, propaganda-driven, silly at times, overtly naive, and very, very long. Peter O'Toole, can he play? He can, not in here. His uneasy array of don't want to read that hints, blank stare, evidently weak acting, very unnatural emotional display, shallow delivery, and generally very irritating mimics. Omar Sharif and Alec Guinness are no better with their laughable gestures, bad lines, and unconvincing acting. This is a very overrated piece of time movie, which belongs to where it should be in the past as a result of very poorly executed epic saga, which drags and dies along. My advice, watch it, but then drop it. There are better movies in the world. This one is a real waste of time. Why should we watch it then? 57 out of 136 are into it. Helpful. So
I don't know that I fully disagree with that guy.
I had to disagree with the one part I didn't read.
Which was that?
Oh.
The slur.
I sent one that I think doesn't have a slur into the chat.
This is the one you want Luke to read?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which chat?
Oh, the Facebook messenger.
Right. Got to open that, haven't I?
Computer at work. The computer's at work. It's finding a
Oh.
review.
Don't get me started on the computers. I've been trying to order a plane ticket for the past 12 hours and it's doing my nut in.
Is that the
Get
review?
the VPN, make it look like you're from somewhere you're not going to.
It's not that. It's just my bank card is Japanese, so.
Oh, Jesus.
This is the most overhyped, overrated film of its generation. This is the film where David Lean's megalomania and pretentiousness, already evident in The Bridge on the River Kwai, a film that is just this side of bearable, spilled over into an overweening arrogance and smugness, and an unjustified belief that he can do no wrong, however absurd the casting, the story, and the photography. Lean knew nothing of the Middle East and understood less. The film presents a completely false picture of it, glossy, saccharine, and indeed patronizing, and thus borderline racist. The historical context is tendentious, biased, and false. The centuries-old story of the Jews rebuilding their own country is barely given a supercilious nod. However great an actor Alec Guinness is, casting him as Faisal is just plain silly. Were there no actors of Middle Eastern background and appearance? He looks like an uncomfortable transplant from the East End of Charles Dickens, an Irish or Scottish princeling who took the wrong train at Holborn Underground Station. The notion that this is the best British film of all time is absurd as the film itself. Glitziness does not equal quality. Even Lean made better films by far, for example, Great Expectations. And The Third Man is miles better too. These films are cinematic. They understand the medium and utilize it properly. Lawrence tries to get by on sheer bombast, and fails miserably, as it must.
As it must.
Yep. Thank
Okay.
you. That was very British. Excellent.
Apart from that, I accidentally pronounced some words the American way.
Well,
well.
tendentious is a pretty, that's
The
a pretty good
Americans didn't
curveball.
notice.
I didn't, yeah.
But these do seem to be as far as the good movies with bad reviews. I guess these reviews do have the most salient points on the film.
Yeah, I think it's a good film. It's just it's aged. It's probably the film we've done so far which has aged the most.
I agree. That includes
and we've done much older films.
Yeah.
Yeah, M feels more now than this.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I guess because it's got the kind of light cinema verite looking thing, where this is the most produced looking movie possible. You know,
it's the underdog thing sometimes, right? I mean,
yeah,
this is not. This is the overdog.
It's kind of hard to call Fritz Lang an underdog director.
Okay,
whatever.
Well, I mean, the Nazis were probably going to kill him any second if they just said the wrong thing. So that's, I don't know, that's a way of being an underdog.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the furthest you can get from an underdog is the British Empire in the early 20th century, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's part of the weird dissonance of the film too. Like, you know, Lawrence, like, no matter what his intentions are, which probably aren't as good as they seem in this film, you know, he's doing the devil's work in the end, right? So makes it a little bit of a.
But it's a lot like when Marvel makes films, then they borrow Air Force jets, so they're like, "Hey, look how cool the Air Force is." You know, it's very similar, and I guess we'll get to that when we get to one of those. But
I mean, you know, like everyone, all of his acquaintances, well, they don't like him to start with, and 5 years after this movie, they're all gonna hate him. So, and he'll be back in England by then.
Yeah.
I guess it is just weird. It's the quicksand of historical ground, but
did the quicksand really happen in real life?
I don't know.
I couldn't find that information.
Yeah, I don't know.
That seems like it seems like the least likely thing to be real in the film, probably.
That probably means it's the most.
I still don't fully understand if quicksand exists like it does in films.
Well, let's fall in the quicksand of today's plugs, I guess. You just nominated yourself by yelling.
Please help! I'm sinking. But before I fall into this real quicksand that definitely exists, follow us. Patreon.com/podcastius. and get bonus content and send us money to pay the bills, because bills need to be paid before we fall into quicksand and die.
And raise a revolt army.
Yes, indeed. Also, check out other fine podcasts such as Time Enough Podcast, The Twilight Zone, Occult Disney about the occult, tangents in Disney, Game Show, the game show about games, Hyrule Field Report covering The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Luke Loves Pokemon, where Luke loves Pokemon. Is that all of them?
Maybe you might have run out of steam there. That's now you're because you're up to your eyes.
Sand.
You're right. Mark. Yep. There goes Mark. Okay.
I hate sand. It gets into all of your body parts and keeps you from hooking up with older princess.
Of course.